Hey, what's up guys? So, welcome to Seattle. It's a beautiful, cloudy, cold and windy day. Back behind me, you'll see Lake Union, one of the beautiful lakes here in Seattle, and you'll also see I-5 over my left shoulder here. Runs all the way up into Canada and all the way down through California. Anyways, in this video, I wanted to go ahead and give you kind of an overview of the different detectors that are out, as far as the new detectors that are coming out and different updates to the existing detectors. So, in today's episode, the state of the radar detector union with your host, Vortex. Okay, cool. So let's start from the top. We'll start with the V1. The detector's been out for a long time. Basically, the news about the V1 is the new app V1 Driver. It's basically like V1 for the iPhone. It's bringing GPS lockouts and low-speed muting, all the cool stuff to help quiet down a lot of the false alerts for the V1 for iPhone users. Now, one of the best parts about V1 Driver is it's really simple and easy to use. You just turn it on and run it and it does everything for you kind of behind the scenes. Unlike V1, which is pretty complicated to set up and use, V1 Driver is actually really simple. That app has been in development, very active development over the past couple weeks. New features being added, bugs being fixed, really cool stuff to see what's been going on in the beta there. I don't know exactly when it's going to be released. I've heard potentially May. We'll have to see. I don't know the price point either, but that's a really cool update that's coming for the V1 to make it easier to use for people who want to use the V1 and don't necessarily want to do something super complicated, or if you're an iPhone user and you don't want to get an Android. So definitely cool stuff coming with the V1. As far as the Uniden detectors, we've got the LRD 950, as you guys know. This guy, just like all the other Uniden detectors, are being discontinued and replaced by a new model. This guy is being replaced by the DFR7. It's already available for pre-order on Amazon. The LRD 850 is being replaced by the DFR6. So they've got their new lineup of detectors. And basically, it's the same detector, maybe a new, different case, and a different name at a higher price point. Basically, what had happened was, when Uniden released these detectors, they didn't stick to a minimum advertised price. So all the different distributors, it kind of became a race to the bottom to sell them to the cheapest so they would get the sale, and the price just kind of plummeted on these guys. And so now what's happening is Uniden is going to be discontinuing them, re-releasing them under a new name at a more profitable and sustainable price point. So now this guy, for example, is going to be, instead of about $169, you're going to find him online for $299. So what that means is it's not quite the no-brainer as it used to be, you know? If you've got performance similar to like many of the $400 detectors, but at a much lower price point, that's an awesome value, you know? And if it's going to be sold at $300, that's still cheaper than a lot of the other detectors, but it's not as cheap as it used to be, you know? So it's for that reason that it's not going to be quite the no-brainer that it used to be. So if you're spending $300, maybe you'll want to spend $400 for better performance and more features and arrows or Bluetooth compatibility or automatic lockouts or whatever, you know? So once you start getting into the higher end price point, you're competing more closely with the higher end detectors. So I still think it's a good detector. It is going to save you money, but it's not quite the no-brainer. As far as the replacements of the detectors, those should be coming out sometime late April or early May, it's expected. There's also going to be some new detectors, not just the replacement for the existing ones, that are going to be coming out sometime towards the end of the year. They should be higher performance and more features than what's available with the LRD 950's replacement. I don't know as far as what the performance is going to look like or what those features are, but those detectors are going to retail, instead of $300, they're going to retail for $400 and $500, and those are expected to be released sometime towards the end of the year, so end of 2016. So that'll be interesting stuff. So now that we've got the LRD 950 at $300, there's also going to be the LRD 850 at $200. There's also the LRD 750's price. I forget it off the top of my head. I think it's like $130 or something, $160, somewhere around there. And so once that comes out, that'll be another good option as well. That competes similarly to like the M4 detectors from Escort. Speaking of the Escort M4s, one detector that you guys have been asking me about a lot is the Escort S55. It's a very affordable Escort detector. That price has also gone down quite a bit recently over the past couple months. And basically what you're looking at with the S55 is yet another one of Escort's many M4 based detectors. It's the same platform that they use on the 9500iX, on the X70, the Passport. It's even kind of what the Max and the Max 2 and the Max 360 are loosely based off of. The Maxes have more sophisticated signal analysis or maybe a rear antenna, that kind of stuff, but it's the same fundamental platform that they've developed it on top of. There's the M4, the Max is the M5, the Max 360 is the M6, right? So basically, if you're looking for an affordable budget detector, because the Unidens are starting to go up in price and they're not really available, And the existing ones are also starting to go up in price with supply and demand and inventory stuff and whatnot. That's another decent option. It's a basic detector. There's no bells and whistles as far as a fancy display or GPS or Bluetooth built in. None of that kind of stuff. It's just a basic detector with like auto mode and TSR and not a whole heck of a lot more. So if you're looking for a budget detector, that's another one to consider. Not great, not top-end performance, not crazy good filtering, but if you're looking for something on a budget, that's another one, especially since the Unidens are starting to go up in price. Speaking of the Escorts, let's talk about those, because a lot of the Escorts have since had some firmware updates come out. We've got the Max 360. With this one, there's a new firmware update that's come out recently, version 1.3. There's been some performance updates, but Escort hasn't given us any detail on what that means, which is a little strange. I have no idea what that entails as far as reactivity or sensitivity. I don't think there's too much. But the main thing that it seems like it's brought about is actually some falsing for the K-band falses, which are being reported as Ka-band around 33.4. It's not a total fix for that issue, unfortunately. People still are seeing those falses, but it seems like it definitely is an improvement. People are seeing reduced false alerts, but not a complete fix, unfortunately. So if you're seeing the 33.4 falses on the Max 360, go ahead and update your detector to version 1.3, Windows or Mac, and you should see some improvement on that. There's also been some updates to the earlier versions of the Max, the original Max and the Max 2. Basically what the idea here is it's been bringing some updates to the blind spot filtering to bring it on par of what the Max 360 has. The Max 360 has some more advanced signal analysis capabilities to recognize blind spot falses and filter them out without having to resort to TSR, which is great because TSR will give you a performance penalty. You'll get a slower reacting detector and reduced performance and range. With these detectors, as of the new firmware versions that have come out, version 1.11 on the Max and 1.7 on the Max 2, it's going to be bringing it on par with the Max 360 in terms of blind spot filtering. So it's a great way to get kind of the Max 360's level of performance and filtering, not the arrows, with a less expensive platform with the new filters that have come out, firmware updates with the Max and the Max 2. So version 1.11 on the Max and 1.7 on the Max 2. On the Beltronics GT7, this is the same thing as the Max, but a different name, different case, a little less expensive. They've brought over that same filtering capability over to the GT7. So if you update your GT7 now to version 1.1, it's got the same blind spot filtering capabilities as what they brought over from the Max 360 to the Max and now to the GT7. Because again, same detector, same platform, just different shell and whatnot, but same detector. So if you've got a GT7, go ahead and update it. You will get better blind spot filtering capabilities without having to turn on TSR. If you're getting a decent amount of K-band false alerts, things like auto mode and TSR can help, as well as your cruise alert for low speed muting and GPS lockouts, yada, 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 right? As far as more updates, we've got the Radensos. This is the Radenso Pro SE. As you guys know, great detector, high-end performance, a lot of cool features like the GPS lockouts, low-speed muting, red light camera alerts, all that kind of stuff. However, unfortunately, those features do not work properly yet. The current public version of the firmware is US 9. You get good performance, but there's some weird issues like the lockouts only work half the time. The frequency display isn't accurate. If you're in the presence of a K-band signal and a red light camera at the same time, you can't lock out that K-band false if there's a red light camera around. So they've been totally revamping their lockouts from scratch. Over the past couple months, they've been working on it behind the scenes. It's taken a little bit longer to release this firmware. There's been US 10, US 11, currently it's US 12 that they're working on. The lockout algorithm has been completely rewritten, so it's actually a learning process now. It's pretty cool as far as the way the lockouts work. It's not quite perfect yet, so they're still working on it. They're going to be coming out with US 13 behind the scenes. I don't know if US 13 will be the one that's finally released to the public, but I know it's taken a little bit longer, but there's been some cool stuff that's been going on. Firmware fixes to the laser display, red light cameras, the buttons have been changed, so it actually works better now the way the buttons work, not the way it was before, so you're not going to accidentally turn off the detector, that kind of stuff when you're trying to lock out a signal. So some improvements there to the button. So good stuff with the Radensos. So behind the scenes, yeah, there's been work going on. I wish it would come out a little bit sooner, but slow and steady, I guess, So some firmware updates to be released sometime with the Radensos. Speaking of the Radensos, they've got their remote mount version of the detector. This is the Radenso HD Plus. I just did a video on this one. Basically, it's like the Radenso Pro SE, but a little bit larger antenna here on the front, a little bit better performance. I'm going to be doing a remote test on this guy, plus a lot of the other remotes coming up here at the end of the month or next month or something. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And yeah, basically this guy, really interesting. I've got him testing in my car. I'm gonna be going out of town here for the next week or so, and I'll have this guy mounted in my car to do some initial testing and get a feel for it, performance, range, filtering, all the usual stuff before we get to the performance test, you know? So good stuff here as far as the Radenso. I don't know the exact price point, $500, $600, $700, probably in that price range. It's going to be compatible with dual antennas, so you'll need 2 of them to get front and rear detection to get your arrows, directional information. But good stuff here as far as the remotes for the Radenso. So good to see another option coming out here. Speaking of remotes, there's going to be another new remote coming out. I can't give you any details as far as who's making it, performance, features, how it's going to work, any of that kind of stuff. Once I can give you more information, that information will be made available, but good to see that there's even more stuff coming out as far as the remote. So the remote stuff is getting pretty interesting now. It's more than just the M3s and even the Stinger, you know? The Stinger is another interesting one. I've got one in my car right now set up for testing, 2 antennas, front and rear, to get directional information. Stinger, great performance, top of the line, you know, expensive detectors. So I've been running it just to get a feel, a test unit, as far as the filtering capabilities, how well it works in practice, performance, to just get a feel for, you know, the interface, all that kind of stuff. That'll of course be one of the detectors to be tested against in my remote test. So more to come as far as the Stinger. I've just kind of been running that one installed permanently in my car at this point. So every time I go out for a drive to get a feel for that one and comparing it to a lot of these other detectors. So anyways, yeah, a lot of good stuff. Oh, one last thing I wanted to mention about the Stinger. They were focusing on the radar stuff for a while. Then they kind of put the radar on pause to focus on the laser. They've kind of switched back over to focusing on the radar as far as performance, filtering, bug fixes, interface, all that kind of stuff. So I'm glad about that because I'm a little bit more interested on the radar side than I am on the laser side personally. So I'm happy to see that. But anyways, good stuff to come with all these different detectors. As you can see, we've got new detectors being released. We've got firmware updates coming for a lot of the existing detectors to fix bugs, to add new features, to improve performance, improve the filtering, all this kind of good stuff. So more stuff to come. If you guys like this video, if you want to hear more, definitely hit the thumbs up button. Like this video, that does help me out. Let me know that you like this one and you want more of this kind of stuff. If you found this kind of stuff beneficial, be sure to hit the share button as well. That definitely does help me out, and it helps out other people who are also interested in kind of what's going on with the different detectors. I'll put links down in the video description to all the different detectors as far as the firmware updates and the different detectors that I've been referencing. If you want to purchase one, they are affiliate links, and that does help support me on the channel. So if you want to help support me and my channel and help me continue doing this, when you purchase through any of those affiliate links, it doesn't matter which one, I do make a little bit of a commission, and it helps me to continue doing this. You guys also do have the ability to donate directly to me. You'll find a donation link, and that's another way that you guys can help support me. I don't take money from any of the manufacturers as far as review my product and make it look good. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. It's all directly supported by you guys, you know? That way I get to remain unbiased and objective, and I cover all these detectors and just kind of see how do they perform. Good, bad, ugly, anything, you know? And here's the real deal. So anyways, just wanted to say thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. Again, I'm gonna be going out of town here for a little bit, so I kind of wanted to do this one video to compile. Here's everything that's going on with all these different detectors. Yeah, so cool. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.